Well, my name is Margery Arent Safir, and I'm a professor of comparative literature emerita from the American University of Paris, where I taught for 25 years. And I'm founder and director of the Arts Arena, which is a non-profit interdisciplinary initiative for the visual arts, performing arts, film, Forum for Culture and Society that I founded in 2007. I originally came to Paris not expecting to stay at all. I was finishing up my first book, which was on the poetry of the Chilean poet and Nobel Prize winner Pablo Neruda, but Pinochet had just taken power in Chile. And since Neruda had been Allende's ambassador to France, there were not good feelings there. So I knew a lot of the Latin American writers living mainly in exile in Paris at the time, and they said, well, we all knew Neruda when he was ambassador here, so you should come here to do your research. And I came here speaking absolutely fluent, accentless Argentine Spanish, and not a word of French, and might have continued that way had I not smoked at the time. Because after 6 months I found myself alone at midnight without cigarettes, and for the first time I had to venture out and try and communicate in the local language, and I've been trying to do that ever since. Well, the Arts Arena, as I said, it's a non-profit, and both in France and now in the United States, and it was started in 2007. Initially with the idea that there was a void that had been created by the closing of the American Center some 15 years ago, and I was at the American University of Paris at the time and felt that we were uniquely positioned to be able to fill that void. In fact, I immediately went and I said, buy that Frank Gehry building, but since I was a professor of comparative literature, no one thought I knew anything about real estate, and no one did anything. And then a number of years later, there was a project for the university to move out to the Ile Seyhan, where the Renault factories are, which was going to be an island of culture and scientific research. And so I went to the then president of AUP and I said, well, if we're going to do that, now's the time to let me do this project that I want to do. And it'll be a fire out there. And so I think basically with the attitude of Margery's very senior faculty, we want to keep her happy. It's not going to cost us anything, let her do this thing, etc. And so that's really how it started in 2007. And I was very, very fortunate because I was able to put together immediately a truly distinguished arts advisory board for the Arts Arena. That's something that means a lot to me, because each of the people whom I could name is really a star in his or her artistic discipline, which basically means they didn't need a startup nonprofit in the arts for any reason. They had nothing to get out of it. They did it because they believed in the project and they were excited. And that's something that really touches me. And we very early on did a joint conference with the Aspen Institute, simply because I happened to meet somebody who was interested in exactly what I was interested in terms of exploring the use of the arts for improvement in society, for cultural diplomacy, for understanding among people, for peacekeeping, etc. And so we decided to do, he was at the Aspen Institute, we decided to do this conference together. And between the board we had and sort of a starting event, which was partnered with the Aspen Institute, these were pretty good calling cards for a little nonprofit that had no money and no staff. And I'm happy to say that we have been able to build on that, and we've now done almost 130 cultural events in Paris, all of them free of charge and open to the public, and all of them being followed by a reception, so that people don't just sit passively and listen to the speakers, but are able to really engage with them and with each other afterwards. This policy of free and open is very important to me, because I don't feel that anybody should be turned away from a cultural event because he doesn't have the resources. On the other hand, it clearly is a challenge for any nonprofit to be able to offer that kind of event. And also, we've tended to have very high level events, and I think even levels. I think one of the things that makes me the happiest is when people say to me, when we go to an arts arena event, we know what to expect. It's not hit or miss. It really is all of the same level. So a lot of it comes about, at least in the beginning, in a very serendipitous way. We don't have the funds to bring somebody over from the United States, but we do have the intelligence to find out who is in from the United States or other countries, and so we tend to piggyback excuse me, on that. And one thing I do want to say is, I said we started out with the idea of filling the void that had been created by the close of the American Center, but very quickly it became apparent to me that we did not want to be an American center. That in this day and age, to be essentially a kind of Alliance Française Américaine in Paris wasn't really what interested me. What interested me was to have the most exciting cultural events with the most exciting practitioners of all the different artistic disciplines, wherever they were coming from. And to prove my point there, we actually did a very major month-long festival of contemporary Iranian arts 2 years ago, where we brought in 20 artists from inside Iran. We got visas for them. And 20 artists, including stars like Shireen Nesha from the Iranian diaspora, in Paris for an art show that had performance art, that had visual art, that had photography, that had theater, dance, music, etc. So that's pretty far from being an American center, but I absolutely believe, and this goes to, I think, the heart of what the arts arena is about. I'm one of those people who still believe that the arts affect the way people think, and that people who have seen a painting, listened to music, read fiction, the thinking gets changed. And obviously when they're doing those things, they're not out shooting guns either. But I always like to think that if you have two people sitting in a concert hall, you don't know if the guy next to you is what you would normally call an enemy of your people. You don't know that. You're there sharing a common experience, which is through art, which is the music. And that's one of the reasons that the arts are extremely important to me in an activist kind of way. So how do I develop events? Really around opportunities. We've done a wonderful partnership so that we have our offices at Reed Hall, and we are committed to doing a minimum of 8 events per year at Reed Hall. And for us, it's been fabulous. All our audience, which initially I didn't even know if they would follow us, was so thrilled when they came in and they said, "Oh, this is terrific, this room is great, the grounds, etc." They loved it. We've been so happy, and I have to say that the people at Reed Hall, I mean, it sounds like a paid political announcement, but it really is not, have been so welcoming, so incredible, really stepping out and saying, what can we do to help you? And that's been a fantastic experience.